What's going on, guys? Bengal King here, coming back at you with another video today, doing a top list. I'm not going to call it a top 10 because I do have 12 on here. The first two are going to be honorable mentions. I'll explain why. Last year in my top busts and top gems and top steals, whatever, those videos, I did have a couple honorable mentions, and in the top steals video, my honorable mentions were because of injury. That's why the players dropped. So last year, I believe it was Maurice Hurst who was in my honorable mentions. And he had a heart condition, and he was a top 15 player on my big board, if I recall. And he had a pretty good season last year, but he was still an honorable mention because he's a question mark with his health. So the first two are going to be that, but they're all steals. Just those ones are coming first. This is not exactly an ordered list, as you can kind of rank them wherever. I've kind of ranked them, but it's also by draft position with a lot of it as well. So all these guys in here, and even more that are not even being included, are big steals. The bust video is coming. Be sure to subscribe for that. I'm sure that's going to rile a lot of people up. But let's go ahead and jump into it. The first honorable mention is going to be Montez Sweat. He's an edge rusher out of Mississippi State. He's got good overall ability. He's decent in stuffing the run. He's decent at getting after the passer. I think his tape is pretty good. Nothing exceptional, though, in my opinion. I think the reason that he's got so much hype around him is because of his unbelievable combine. And I'm not saying he's bad on tape. That's certainly not true. He's just not, in my opinion, elite in any one area on tape. He just plays with a high motor, has decent technique, and of course his athleticism is off the charts, even if it doesn't show up on the film. At the combine, he put up unbelievable numbers. And by that, I'm not using hyperbole. I actually am suggesting that if you were to tell me the height and weight of Montez Sweat, which I believe is 6'5", 6'6", 260 pounds, the fact that he ran 4.41, I wouldn't even find that reasonable. That's unfathomable. But that, you know, kind of talks to the level of athlete that he is. He's a really good player, just has maybe a potential heart concern. I know he had a pre-existing heart condition. Some reports are saying that was not diagnosed correctly at the combine. I don't know, man. Bunch of weird things going on, but the Redskins managed to take him in the bottom part of the first round. Really, really good value. Sweat was a top player in the draft, top 20 probably, and they got him outside that range. I like the pick a lot, and as a Giants fan, I hate it because now they get a really, really talented edge rusher that can learn from Ryan Kerrigan, so pretty good pick for the Redskins. The last honorable mention is going to be JAWAAN Taylor. He's a tackle out of Florida. In my mind, the best true right tackle in the class. We talk about other right tackles in the draft like Dalton Risner out of Kansas State, Cody Ford, right tackle out of Oklahoma. These are guys that can move around the offensive line, probably find their best fit at guard. But to me, JAWAAN Taylor is the best true right tackle. He did play some left tackle at Florida State. I remember watching Florida State. Florida. That's why I misspoke there. At Florida, he played. But against Brian Burns, he was kind of at a mismatch. A season ago, not this last season, but 2 seasons ago, I guess, at Florida, found a more natural spot at right tackle and was very, very effective when healthy. Was not easily confused. Excellent in pass protection. JAWAAN Taylor, nasty in the run game as well. Really just a true right tackle with apparent large looming concerns with a terrible knee injury and then a back injury. And I heard he was up to 380 pounds almost while at Florida at some point, which is ridiculous considering he's playing at about 60 pounds less than that on a given Sunday. But wow, I guess in the NFL it would have been Saturday for the most part at the collegiate level. But those are some weird things. However, the tape doesn't lie. JAWAAN Taylor is absolutely phenomenal in that regard. So Jacksonville Jaguars got themselves a steal here in the second. Really, really good player if he can stay on the field. They cut Jeremy Parnell earlier in the offseason, so this was an excellent addition to play right tackle for them. Now, entering the top 10, we have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, CGJ, another Florida Gator back-to-back here. This one without any real injury concerns. I heard that part of his slide was due to tackling concerns, but I think when you turn on the film, he's a pretty good tackler who offers a lot of versatility, which I think is going to be his main appeal to the New Orleans Saints and why they ended up selecting him. He went way later than he should have. He was a 4th-round pick that easily could have gone in the 2nd round. I wouldn't have been shocked if he was taken at the end of the 1st. Can play free safety, strong safety, nickel cornerback. He's excelled in a role near the box as a linebacker or in the box in some different sub packages for the Gators. He's got some ball hawking abilities, really good player with a nose for the football. I like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson a lot. He's a really talented player, really solid, plays hard, plays tough. He's going to fit in really well with the New Orleans Saints, who need to improve their secondary a lot. This is a huge step in the right direction. They have 2 studs, in my opinion, in Marshawn Lattimore and Marcus Williams. Not a lot else. This is going to help that move in the right direction. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals selecting HAKEEM Butler, wide receiver out of Iowa State. HAKEEM Butler was one of the most intriguing players coming into the draft. There was speculation that he could even go as high as the first round, but given the depth at receiver in this class, not a huge shock that some of these guys slid. However, in my opinion, it is a huge shock that he slid all the way to the 4th round. He was taken with the first pick of the 4th round by the Cardinals yesterday as I record this, probably 2 days ago as you guys watch it. But HAKEEM Butler is a really talented player, excellent at going up and high pointing the football. He's a red zone threat who actually excels with the football in his hands. Usually tall, kind of lanky guys like HAKEEM Butler, in general, don't excel at breaking tackles, but this guy is a force to be reckoned with the football after the catch. Yards after catch machine because he's a tough guy to tackle. Can't arm tackle him. He's too strong. He's just so good at breaking tackles and fighting for extra yards. A little bit of inconsistencies with it, tracking the football downfield and occasionally with his hands, but he's going to win a lot of 50-50 balls. So HAKEEM Butler, I think, is an excellent pickup for the Cardinals, who had a tremendous draft. I'll hopefully be talking about that in a huge video, talking about every single team's draft. That'll be quite the daunting process and task for me to complete, but looking forward to the challenge. I think that'll be a really good video for you guys to watch. Next up on the list, we have Dre'Mont Jones, a defensive tackle from Ohio State. He was taken by the Denver Broncos, who really needed to upgrade their defensive line. I think this is a step in the right direction. He's a big defensive tackle, pretty good at stopping the run, but this is a great inside rusher, great interior pass rusher, who's really a finesse style player in there. Didn't really run all that well at the combine, but it doesn't matter because on film he plays really fast, plays quick, really good feet, and just is so good at getting inside. And sometimes he'll use that to shut down the run. Oftentimes use that to get after the passer. And in today's NFL, I think an interior pass rush is as important now as it's ever been. I think in years past in the NFL, it was a focus with stopping the run purely for defensive tackles, but now you need guys who can do everything, especially rushing the passer. Dre'Mont Jones offers no lack of that. So the Broncos get a stud here in Dre'Mont Jones in the 3rd round. Could have easily gone in the 1st, so really good selection by the Denver Broncos. The Arizona Cardinals are back again. This time it's with Zach Allen, who's kind of a hybrid defensive end out of Boston College. What I mean by that is he's not necessarily a true edge, maybe not even a true 3-4 defensive tackle. In my opinion, Zach Allen's the guy that's going to be best utilized when he rotates around the defensive line. I think Arizona usually sticks to a 3-4, so Chandler Jones coming off one edge, maybe you have Zach Allen coming off the left side. That's what he did a lot at BC, and he did so very well. This is a really good run stopper. Another guy that has a bunch of pass rush moves, though. Agile, athletic, good feet, good hands. I like the technique, and I love the motor of Zach Allen. One of the most fun players to watch on tape for me this past year. I fell in love watching Zach Allen. The only problem is determining his translation to the NFL could be a little bit weird given his size. Didn't really run particularly well. Not an incredible athlete, and that does show on tape. He's not that fast, not incredibly strong. I don't know if he's big enough to excel on the inside or fast enough to excel on the edge, but I think if anyone's going to be able to do it, it's Zach Allen. Plays the game so hard. I really hate when would-be draft experts or whatever, or really it's like, radio talk show hosts or whatever, like Mike Francesa, who's an idiot, by the way. They talk about these players. Oh, he plays tough, he plays hard, but Zach Allen really exemplifies that. His motor is through the roof, and it's a big part of his success, in my opinion. He plays hard every single snap, and the Cardinals, who were just in a best player available mode the entire draft, in my opinion, hit with another really good player. When you're a team that's as bad as the Cardinals were / kind of are, you can afford to take some risks on players. Zach Allen is a riskier player, given his classification maybe as a tweener between defensive end and edge in their 3-4, but I think he has a lot of upside. Next up, the Titans took DeAndre Walker, edge rusher out of Georgia. I like him at linebacker too, as an off-the-ball player. The Titans operate in a 3-4. DeAndre Walker would not go until the 5th round. He was one of my top 10 edge rushers in the draft. I was shocked by that. I also like him in that off-the-ball role, though. So I think he went to a perfect team for his abilities. He's not a guy that has to come off the edge flying every single play, especially given the talented edge rusher that they already have. So when they took one Boston College stud this year, they opted to go for an SEC this time in DeAndre Walker. And when they have Harold Landry, that BC beast last year, talking about another Boston College player, and Zach Allen just a minute ago, but DeAndre Walker is not like Harold Landry, even though he's classified at the same position, doesn't have the edge bend, but is a really fast player off the edge, really, really quick, good feet, but he can drop back, and he's pretty good in coverage. He's a tackling machine. I love the versatility of a player like DeAndre Walker. So shocked that he fell to the 5th round. There's no way I wasn't including him on this list. I'm having another video that will go up maybe tomorrow or the next day talking about the late round gems. So the reason you're not going to see DeAndre Walker in that video is he's making it into this one. He's someone that I was just so shocked would fall all the way down, but I really wanted to give some emphasis to the actual true late round players, the true late round gems. So again, I'm excited for that video. I hope you guys are as well. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one as I stutter through this next pick. That'd be great. So another player that was technically drafted in the late rounds. He was gone in the 5th, number 155 overall by the Browns. But again, I don't really think he's a true late round guy. Really, really solid his sophomore season at Alabama. And I think really the true downside of Mack Wilson and things that they were saying, and this came out months ago, is that Nick Saban's like, you know, to Mack Wilson and Deontay Thompson. Deontay Thompson not making it in this video. He'll be in the other one, spoiler alert. But he said to those guys, hey, y'all aren't ready. Y'all got to come back. Get better. Get another year of tape underneath you. You know, play up to that level that I know you can. You guys will be first-round picks. Which probably would be true. Mack Wilson was incredible his sophomore season. Deontay Thompson was pretty good for the first half of this season. They both declared, and they both fell in the draft terribly. They fell all the way to the 5th, both of them. And Mack Wilson's a really good player, really solid in coverage, and it's kind of weird when you think about Alabama linebackers. Usually you're talking about thumpers, at least maybe 10 years ago, but nowadays you look at Reuben Foster, who was incredible in coverage. Rashaan Evans was decent in coverage too, but then Mack Wilson, another great cover linebacker. CJ Mosley, not so bad in coverage himself either. So these Alabama linebackers just coming in already polished in coverage, and that's a huge bonus of Mack Wilson given his athleticism and his ability to lay hits. Alabama linebackers love to lay hits. Reuben Foster was quite an example of that. Mack Wilson's a good player. He could have gone a lot higher, just with potential character concerns, not going back to Alabama for his senior season. I guess I could understand the fall, but Mack Wilson to the Browns here in the 5th was an incredible steal, as they seem like they love to do. They got another one coming up a little bit later on this list. Again, another spoiler alert. Guess it really doesn't help if I say spoiler alert after I've already spoiled it, but you're watching the video. Greedy's going to be on the list, but Justin Layne, another cornerback, is going to be up ahead, slightly above him. Justin Layne was a fall that I really did not see coming. I thought, if anything, he was going to get some late rise coming into the draft. I thought he could maybe even go in the 1st. Justin Layne was an extremely fun player to watch at Michigan State. Really, really good talent. And he's a long cornerback, so he's got some size. He's got some speed. Physical at the line of scrimmage. Can play press man. Can play off ball as a man or zone cornerback. Justin Layne is pretty much the complete package at corner. And again, one of the best cornerbacks in this class. He was CB4 on my board. Loved watching him. I was confident that the Detroit Lions were going to take him given their need at cornerback, and given his ability and given the fact that he's from Michigan, or at least played at Michigan State. Keep him in state. Keep him in Michigan with the Detroit Lions, and they just didn't do that. So I think the Steelers finally got a good cornerback that, in my mind, really exemplifies what the Steelers are all about with their secondary, or what they'd like to be all about, which is athleticism and physicality. Justin Layne exemplifies that perfectly. He's a really good player. I'm just so shocked that he was on the board for as long as he was. I think he went late in the 3rd, if I recall. Just didn't make all that much sense to me, but a lot of these didn't. He went round 3, pick 20. Justin Layne is a stud, and I think this is a player that's much better than Artie Burns, and they took Artie Burns in the first round a couple years ago. Now I have a lisp. That's a fun thing to find out. Let's move on to the next one. Yes, I alluded to it a little bit earlier. Maybe I didn't allude to it. I flat out said that Greedy was going to be on this list, but I think many of you guys probably expected that already. Greedy Williams, one of the best cornerbacks in the draft heading in. He waited until the middle of the second round almost to hear his name, or exactly, you know, round 2, pick 14, so right in that middle range of like 14 to 18 in the middle of the second. Finally went, and he went to the Browns. So the Browns continue their incredible offseason. They traded number 17 overall for Odell Beckham Jr., and then they took Greedy Williams, and then they took Mack Wilson. They're going so big on these high upside players, and Greedy Williams is certainly a high upside player. Apparently he was falling down boards due to his inability to come up and tackle, and I guess making these business type decisions at corner, but depending on your scheme, tackling really doesn't matter all that much for a cornerback. Now, that's not to say that tackling isn't important at cornerback, but it's not the most important thing, especially given what the Browns do. And they have their linebackers, they have speed at that position, especially more now with Mack Wilson. Those linebackers play all over the field and tackle well. Joe Schobert, Christian Kirksey, those guys are all over the field making tackles. What the cornerbacks do is cover. They play on islands and they isolate. Denzel Ward did that incredibly well last year. Greedy Williams can do that this year. Now they have two big cornerbacks who run fast, play instinctive football, and have generally pretty good ball skills. Greedy Williams was a top, I believe, 30 player in the draft. I think I've had him at number 28 maybe. I had him pretty low on my board, just because I think he does have some inconsistencies in his tape. Tackling was one of them, but also I think he gets lost sometimes in coverage. But he's a guy that can run with anybody. Really good player, just sometimes a little bit inconsistent, and I tend to value the more consistent players higher. You guys can check out my big board video and see if you disagree or agree with it in certain areas. But what I can tell you, and what I think we can all agree on, is Greedy Williams should not have been on the board this long. He was a guy that deserved to go in round 1, and here he is, middle of the second round. Tremendous value pick by the Cleveland Browns, who, again, continue their incredible offseason. Number 2 on the list is, of course, my draft crush, NASIR Adderley. My biggest draft crush, my favorite player in the draft, based on his tape. I loved watching NASIR Adderley. He was a top 15 player on my board, and he would not go until the 3rd round. Of course, I wanted my Giants to maybe be in a position to take him, but it was not to be. He would go to the Los Angeles Chargers. I loved NASIR Adderley, not 3rd round, end of the 2nd, almost the 3rd. I loved watching NASIR Adderley play. The reason for his drop, or so they say, is his 40 time at his pro day. Didn't run at the combine, had an injury. Apparently ran like 4.6, 4.63 at his combine, or at his pro day, I want to say, which is not the player that you watch on tape. He's instinctive, he's fast, he's rangy, plays sideline to sideline. Looks more like a low 4.5 guy. I don't know if there was a lingering injury when he ran at his pro day, but he's not a 4.6, mid 4.6 speed guy. He's a very, very fast player, and maybe it's just his natural ability in zone coverage and his range and instinctiveness that makes him look a lot faster, but when you flip on the film for NASIR Adderley, he is all over the field, loves to come up and make a hit, has the best ball skills of any defensive back in the class, and in my opinion, he easily should have gone in the 1st round. I know he's from a small school, Delaware, not exactly a hot producer of NFL talent. Looked at Joe Flacco as like the last big one. Not exactly an elite talent, though, there, but NASIR Adderley is a stud. He's a monster, and guess what? He fits in so well with the Los Angeles Chargers, who now have debatably the best secondary in the entire NFL. I think they were right up there previously, but even though they lost Jason Verrett to the Bay Area San Francisco 49ers, they still have Trevor Williams. They still have Casey Hayward. They still have Desmond King in the slot. They still have a huge steal in last year's draft in Derwin James, who fell to the middle of the 1st round. He should have been a top 10 pick easily and had a stellar rookie season. And that's their strong safety. What do they have at free safety? Now NASIR Adderley can play over the top in that center field role, keep Derwin James near the box, almost as a hybrid linebacker at times. This is an absolute stud pick for the Chargers. Cannot believe they managed to get him, and they got Jerry Tillery, who was a great pick at the end of the 1st round. I'll be probably talking about this if I make that huge 32-team draft video, but NASIR Adderley, I can't talk him up enough And the Chargers, I mean, it looks like just the rich get richer. Incredible pick here at the end of the second round. And that leaves number 1 as DeKalin, Zacharias, Metcalf, DK Metcalf at number 1. It's not necessarily ordered, but this is a huge fall, a huge drop. Apparently, the reason for that is that DK Metcalf was believed to be not all natural, which I'm not saying that he is or he isn't. I don't know. I'm just saying that was the proposed reason for his fall. I don't know if that's true or if there's much truth to that, but this is a player that definitely should have gone in the first 40 picks. I can understand some concerns about him being raw, about his route running not being polished, maybe some inconsistency with his hands, and his 3-cone. Stop bringing up the 3-cone for DK Metcalf. It's so incredible. He slipped twice just trying to have an amazing time. Yeah, maybe if he runs the 3-cone drill route, he's not going to be effective in the NFL, but guess what? He doesn't have to. DK Metcalf, by the way, on tape is way more agile than that 3-cone time says, where he slipped twice. He gets in and out of his breaks pretty quickly, runs routes pretty well, even if not at an elite level, but he really has to be just a deep threat immediately to be the most successful. That doesn't mean he can't do the other things well, because he does do them pretty well. I like DK Metcalf a lot. It's becoming so popular to hate on him just because of, you know, he's just classic combine warrior. But he's not. You got to watch him play. He's way better than that. There's no way he should have been on the board until the end of the second round. I believe the last pick of the second round of the Seahawks. DK is a stud. And guess what? This is not a right-out comparison, right? But DK Metcalf is reminiscent of Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson could not run every route, at least when he first came out, still was a dominant player immediately in the NFL. DK can run the 9 route, so streak, post, slant, anything over the middle that's just a short route that relies on acceleration, burst, and long speed. He's physical at the line. This is a player that's going to be really, really good in the NFL. Josh Gordon is another player that plays like that, and of course, he doesn't stay on the field, but when he is on the field, he's a great player. DK, no real off-the-field concerns other than that neck injury, which that was maybe another reason for his drop. I don't know about that one, but I'm remembering that now. He did have a broken neck that sidelined him for some time. But DK's a stud. He's taken here at a great spot because he's out to prove the whole world wrong, or the whole NFL wrong. DK is a good player. He's not trash. He's not terrible. He could bust, but guess what? Anybody could. That's going to do it for the video, guys. DK Metcalf is the final draft steal. Or at least these more notable players. Draft gems, draft busts, draft recap, all coming up shortly. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Take it easy.